Welcome to those who are still with us after Monday Night Football. We had Monday Night Football tonight. We had Chicago versus Washington, or as Trump would call it, the Hellhole Bowl tonight. What a day for Donald Trump. You know what? He finally did something positive today, and I want to give him credit for it because I know he's not the type to take credit for himself.
Do you think Trump would have gotten the same number of votes if the people who voted for him had access to or the curiosity to seek out and find the truth? Because they're not getting the truth over on Fox. This $780-some million lawsuit is proof.
In a country where politics plays out like primetime entertainment, President Donald Trump has mastered chaos as a form of leadership. Every moment feels staged, every headline a dramatic twist. Policies vanish as quickly as they appear, and reason rarely takes the stage. Watching this spectacle, Jimmy Kimmel and Jason Bateman turned disbelief into razor-sharp comedy, revealing the absurd humor pulsing beneath Trump's ongoing performance in the theater of American politics.
Because she felt the need to call him about it.
The person who actually got the Nobel Prize called me and said, I'm accepting this in honor of you because you really deserved it. A very nice thing to do.
Yeah, that was a nice thing for the person who got the Nobel Prize to do today. I don't know why they gave this to me. It should have gone to you, Mr. President. So now Trump's focused on winning the prize.
Implying, I think, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but that there's a baked-in level of cynicism there and manipulation and opportunity to tap into a large group of people that are aggrieved and that, well, their votes count the same, so let's go after them because there's a lot of people that are pissed off. I can't begrudge him that because that's kind of the game of politics. Yeah. But, you know, once you're elected, it's like, can we now, actually help the country instead of continue?
Trump's latest move, hailed by some as bold and by others as utterly baffling, features a sudden, whiplash-inducing pivot on a major economic policy. Delivered in a storm of exaggeration and bravado, the announcement left aides scrambling, journalists dazed, and voters wondering whether they were witnessing governance or improv theater. The contradictions pile up so spectacularly that it would be comedic if it weren't real, if the fallout weren't shaking markets, trade talks, and global relations. Kimmel and Bateman channel this political chaos into razor-edged irony, exposing how a man who vows to bring order instead orchestrates a symphony of delightful disorder.
Was in a celebratory mood today, posing for victory photos, the man of the moment, and when he isn't double fisting McFlurries, he doesn't know what to do with his hands. He kind of does part of YMCA, I don't know, or Zumba, I'm not sure what that is, but maybe he's trying to fly. But Trump took part in a signing ceremony, becoming the first U.S. president to sign a ceasefire agreement with a Sharpie the size of a Subway sandwich.
Trump's brand of diplomacy has turned unpredictability into performance art. Every handshake, meeting, and statement feels staged, part theater, part guessing game. Allies and adversaries alike are left decoding mixed signals, uncertain whether they're participants in a grand strategy or extras in a political punchline. Jason Bateman, with his precise timing and wry observation, uncovers the humor in these contradictions, the double standards, the ego-eclipsing policy, the spectacle mistaken for statecraft. Meanwhile, Jimmy Kimmel transforms the entire display into a mirror for the public, reflecting the surreal absurdity of modern leadership with biting clarity and unrelenting wit, reminding viewers that the world's most powerful office has never felt more like a late-night act.
More and more interesting. You know, I joked earlier about the Trump show I'm addicted to. I really am fascinated. I can't stop watching the things that he does and the things that he says and marry that to the fact that there are 80-some million people that would vote again for him tomorrow. You know, is just a social phenomenon, a political phenomenon that I just can't get my head around.
Trump's domestic policies offer an endless feast of contradictions. Infrastructure plans vanish into thin air, healthcare promises flip overnight, and every declaration arrives with theatrical flair but little follow-through. The formula is unmistakable: grand statements, dramatic delivery, and chaos as strategy. The outcome is a dizzying mix of confusion, fascination, and disbelief, a spectacle designed to dominate headlines and project strength even as the substance collapses beneath scrutiny. Kimmel and Bateman dissect this political theater with surgical precision, turning contradiction into comedy and exposing how spectacle replaces substance, leaving even loyal supporters struggling to laugh off the absurdity masquerading as leadership.
Knows the Middle East better than anyone. Here he is talking about the close proximity between Iran and Qatar.
They're literally, you walk over from Iran to Qatar. You can walk it in 1 second. You go boom, boom, and now you're in Qatar.
God, I didn't know you go boom, boom, and you're in Qatar. And then we looked it up, and it turns out the reason I didn't know it is because it's wrong. It's very, very wrong. You cannot walk from Iran to Qatar. You could swim 150 miles, but unless you're Jesus.
Social media has become the main stage where Trump's persona both thrives and unravels. Tweets fire off with reckless speed, often contradicting previous claims or unfolding events within hours. The fallout is instant, viral chaos that amplifies blunders as much as bravado. Jimmy Kimmel spins these digital escapades into razor-sharp satire, while Jason Bateman dissects the spectacle with cool precision, highlighting the human comedy in Trump's endless quest for attention. Together, they craft a portrait that is as hilarious as it is unsettling, exposing the widening gulf between performance and reality, and how power, when filtered through a screen, becomes its own absurd entertainment.
Got a Nobel Peace Prize. He didn't do anything. They gave it to Obama for doing absolutely nothing.
He got the Nobel Prize for doing nothing.
They should give me the Nobel Prize.
Everyone says that I should get the Nobel Peace Prize.
I had so many people, you should get the Nobel Prize. I was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize.
I got the Nobel Peace Prize nomination.
I got nominated for the Nobel Prize. Where's my Nobel Peace Prize they don't talk about?
A Peace Prize Nobel nomination, and they didn't cover it. And I don't care, but I'm not looking for it. I'm not politicking for it. I'm just saying that there's a lot of unfairness in this world.
Yeah, well, you know what? No one has suffered more.
Trump's relationship with the media remains one of the most surreal recurring acts in modern politics. Press conferences, interviews, and spontaneous statements unfold like episodes of improvisational theater, where logic bends effortlessly to fit the moment. Facts stretch, explanations morph, and clarity takes a backseat to spectacle. Each appearance is less about informing the public and more about commanding attention, transforming truth into a flexible performance. Here, Jimmy Kimmel's sharp wit thrives, piercing grand declarations with biting irony, while Jason Bateman's dry humor exposes the all-too-human flaws behind the bluster. Together, they strip the spectacle down to its absurd core, revealing governance as a never-ending stand-up routine of contradictions. At the heart of it all lies Trump's obsession with self-image. Every statement, every decision, every carefully staged moment passes through the lens of personal branding. Victories are magnified into triumphs, missteps are reframed, denied, or shifted elsewhere. Public perception becomes the true policy, maintained through performance rather than principle. Kimmel turns this relentless self-promotion into cutting satire, while Bateman highlights the irony of leadership built on image over substance. The result is an unbroken cycle of audacity and contradiction, a political reality show that refuses to end.
Trump's been lobbying hard to try to win the Nobel Prize for Peace. He really wants that peace prize. So he's been talking pretty much nonstop about this for the past 2 weeks. And so it was with bigly disappointment that on Friday, the Nobel Committee made the following announcement.
The Norwegian Nobel Committee has decided to award the Nobel Peace Prize for 2025 to Maria Corina Machado.
Nonsense. Bullshit. It's all bullshit.
Come on, nobody likes a sore loser. I mentioned last week the Norwegian government, they have one, by the way, the Norwegian government, they was worried about Trump retaliating against them if he didn't win the Nobel Peace Prize. And the woman who did win, Maria Corina Machado, was maybe a little nervous about it too because she felt the need to call him about it.
The person who actually got the Nobel Prize called me and said that I'm accepting.
Trump's legislative maneuvers offer yet another spectacle ripe for analysis. Bills are introduced with theatrical flair, promises delivered with unwavering conviction, but the follow-through tells a different story. The gap between ambition and execution is staggering, turning governance into a blend of farce and frustration. Kimmel and Bateman dissect this disconnect with expert precision, transforming convoluted policy shifts into sharp, hilarious commentary that exposes the irony of power dressed as performance. The result is a show equal parts informative and uproariously entertaining, where every promise doubles as a punchline. On the global stage, Trump's foreign policy unfolds like a live-action satire. Trade deals are trumpeted with grandeur, only to be revised, delayed, or discarded within weeks. World leaders are left navigating a maze of mixed signals, uncertain whether they're in a negotiation or a reality show. Kimmel mines these diplomatic twists for comedic gold, exposing the absurdity of strategies that play out like high-stakes poker with invisible rules, while Bateman highlights the humanity and hubris behind the chaos. When national crises strike, Trump's responses oscillate between theatrical dramatization and impromptu improvisation. His public addresses mix self-praise, selective statistics, and moral posturing, leaving Americans uncertain whether they're witnessing leadership or another episode of political performance art.
He says he would carry out a deportation operation to remove more than 11 million people from the country. He says he would use the military to build migrant detention camps. He would let red states monitor women's pregnancies and prosecute those who violate abortion bans. He would, at his personal discretion, withhold funds appropriated by Congress. He would fire any U.S. attorney who wouldn't carry out his order to prosecute. He's weighing pardons for everyone who attacked the Capitol January 6th. He said he might not come to the aid of an ally in Europe or Asia if he felt that country wasn't paying enough. He would gut the civil service. He would close the White House Pandemic Preparedness Office and staff his administration only with those who believe the election.
Kimmel's satire slices clean through Trump's carefully constructed facade, exposing the contradictions and absurdities in his efforts to project control while sidelining expertise. Bateman's commentary complements this by spotlighting the human comedy, the pride, hubris, and impulsive improvisation that shape decision-making at the highest level. Trump's love for spectacle, from rallies to grand social events, provides endless material for ridicule. Every appearance is choreographed to perfection, yet chaos inevitably slips in, microphones fail, cues are missed, and blunders pile up with comedic precision. Bateman delves deeper, revealing the irony of elaborate planning undone by ego and overconfidence, transforming leadership into performance art gone slightly off-script. Kimmel and Bateman also capture the rhythm of Trump's campaign promises, a choreography of bold assertions, dramatic flair, and exaggerated confidence. Infrastructure overhauls, sweeping policy reforms, and ambitious legislative plans burst onto the stage with energy, only to collapse under the weight of execution. Their satire dissects this recurring pattern, showing how charisma and relentless media control can temporarily conceal dysfunction while fueling a cycle of spectacle over substance. What emerges is a dual narrative: the show Trump so meticulously performs for the public, and the tangled reality unfolding just behind the curtain where leadership meets theater, and chaos takes center stage.
Really hard. He claims he's not politicking for the Peace Prize, which must be why the White House posted this very subtle message calling him the Peace President. The Peace President is sending a platoon to invade a yoga studio in Portland right now. This is all you need to know about how we're being perceived around the world. Norway braces for Trump's reaction if he does not win the Nobel Peace Prize.
Dramatic fanfare, followed swiftly by waves of controversy and polarized public reaction. What should be a solemn exercise in governance instead unfolds like a high-stakes television drama, pulling courts, analysts, and commentators into a performance that blurs the line between strategy and spectacle. Bateman distills this political theater into humor that is sharp yet accessible, while Kimmel underscores the human toll behind procedural blunders where ambition, ego, and institutional resistance collide. The comedy lies not just in the results, but in the audacity of the process itself, a reality show disguised as governance. Social controversies under Trump erupt with astonishing speed, often escalating from a single comment or tweet into nationwide debate. Kimmel navigates this chaotic terrain with incisive wit, transforming turmoil into biting satire that exposes contradictions and exaggerations. Bateman, ever the observer, highlights the absurd mechanics of public perception, the echo chambers, viral outrage, and disconnect between intention and interpretation. Together, they build a narrative that is brutally honest, darkly funny, and deeply revealing of America's divided media ecosystem. Trump's economic rhetoric adds another layer to this ongoing farce. Boasts of record-breaking growth, booming markets, and unprecedented employment often crumble under scrutiny. Kimmel mines these exaggerations for irony, skewering the tendency to claim triumph while ignoring nuance. Meanwhile, Bateman unpacks the human side, how spin, perception, and selective storytelling create an illusion of prosperity designed for applause rather than accuracy. Their combined satire turns economic grandstanding into a theater of hyperbole, exposing how performance, not policy, often defines the Trump era's most enduring narratives.
You and Jimmy Kimmel have been good friends for a long time. I'm sure you've heard about the show being pulled, suspended indefinitely because of his comments over Charlie Kirk's killing. What do you make of it, Jason?
Well, it's troubling to say the least, and we all have to really take a moment and figure out how we feel about this type of thing, especially, you know, people doing what you do. It's I'm sure there's going to be some sort of collective move to respond to this, but I'm not smart enough or powerful enough to be the one to do it. But I imagine there's plenty of conversations going on to do something, because you just can't stand by and let stuff like that go on.
Stuff like?
Well, Jimmy getting his show pulled for, you know, freedom of speech.
Trump's interactions with Congress have evolved into a political spectacle, a fusion of theater, strategy, and improvisation that consistently defies conventional norms. Legislative sessions unfold like chaotic rehearsals, where proposals appear, vanish, and re-emerge in dizzying succession. Priorities shift without warning, and clarity often becomes the first casualty of performance. Kimmel transforms these congressional acrobatics into comedy gold, skewering the absurdity of governance drowned in showmanship. Meanwhile, Bateman captures the human drama beneath the noise, the bewilderment, frustration, and quiet resignation of lawmakers trapped in a cycle of unpredictability. Together, they reveal how policymaking under Trump became less about progress and more about perpetual performance. The handling of national emergencies under Trump adds another layer of tragicomedy. Natural disasters, public health crises, and emergencies are met with bold proclamations and theatrical confidence, yet execution falters when substance meets scrutiny. Kimmel distills the ensuing chaos into razor-sharp satire, turning disorder into laughter, while Bateman highlights the human toll, the confusion, miscommunication, and exhaustion behind the curtain of bravado. On the world stage, Trump's participation in international summits and diplomatic encounters blurs the line between strategy and spectacle. Declarations of breakthroughs often give way to contradictions and reversals, leaving allies and adversaries alike unsure whether they're witnessing negotiation or improvisation. Kimmel seizes these moments for biting commentary, exposing the contradictions and performative flair that define Trump's diplomacy, a global stage where every handshake doubles as a headline, and every promise risks becoming punchline material.
No president has ever been more committed to peace, and he's arresting all the rabble-rousers to prove it.
We have arrested dozens of individuals that are Antifa members or affiliated with them, and I want to thank our Attorney General for prosecuting them and making sure they never see the light of day again.
That's just the Secretary of Homeland Security suggesting we lock up American protesters for life.
Kimmel, with his sharp sense of nuance, underscores the absurdity of serious negotiations unfolding amid personality-driven theatrics, where leadership is judged more by optics than outcomes. Trump's relationship with the media remains a comedic treasure trove. Press conferences, interviews, and social media tirades weave a web of contradiction, exaggeration, and self-promotion. Facts are stretched to fit shifting narratives, while statements morph and contradict themselves in real time. Bateman captures the human comedy within this chaos, the uneasy balance between perceived authority and actual impact, painting a portrait of leadership defined as much by performance as by policy. Trump's engagement with cultural and social issues adds yet another layer of spectacle. His remarks often spark instant controversy, social media firestorms, and partisan echo chambers that amplify both division and absurdity. Kimmel channels this turbulence into sharp satire, exposing the contradictions and rhetorical excesses that define Trump's public persona. Bateman, ever observant, delves into the irony of ego and image, the space between intention and consequence where sincerity gives way to showmanship. Together, they craft a vivid depiction of a presidency driven by performance, where messaging often eclipses meaning and every controversy becomes another act in an unending political theater ripe for satire.
I mean, that son of a bitch, you know, is really unbelievable.
Mr. Son of a bitch.
I mean,
Mr. Son of a bitch.
His royal. Yes, yeah, no, I never imagined that we'd ever have a president like this, and I hope we don't ever have another president like this again. I mean, I never even imagined there would ever be a situation in which the president of our country was celebrating hundreds of Americans losing their jobs. But somebody who took pleasure in that. That, to me, is the absolute opposite of what a leader of this country is supposed to be.
Trade negotiations and economic initiatives under Trump have offered an inexhaustible reservoir of satire. Announcements of historic deals often arrive with dramatic flourish, only to be followed by swift reversals, renegotiations, or confusing clarifications. What begins as triumphalism frequently devolves into a cycle of suspense and contradiction. Kimmel transforms these economic whiplashes into punchlines, revealing the comic rhythm of unpredictability, while Bateman highlights the human side, the policymakers, investors, and ordinary citizens caught in the turbulence of markets shaped more by ego and impulse than by consistency. Together, they turn the global economy into a stage where uncertainty itself becomes the headline act. Public appearances and campaign rallies serve as Trump's favorite arenas for high-drama performance. Every event is choreographed with meticulous intent, yet the execution often derails into chaos, missed cues, off-script rants, and gaffes that transform the spectacle into unscripted comedy. Kimmel mines these moments for sharp, unrelenting humor, exposing the vast gap between preparation and performance. Bateman, meanwhile, draws out the subtler irony, the tension between confidence and confusion, the fragile humanity behind the showmanship, and the sheer unpredictability of live political theater. Trump's influence within his own party adds yet another layer of absurd intrigue. Factions emerge, loyalties shift, and alliances form or fracture in response to his every statement. Image and personal allegiance often outweigh ideology, creating a political environment driven by spectacle rather than principle. Kimmel condenses this circus of shifting power plays into biting satire, while Bateman observes the human toll, the anxiety, calculation, and opportunism that define survival in Trump's orbit. The result is a vivid portrait of leadership as performance art, where policy becomes subplot, loyalty becomes currency, and unpredictability reigns as the defining feature of political life.